Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented the budget on the floor of Parliament earlier today. Now, the world has been looking to India in terms of how the country is really going to tackle the global recession. And this was alluded to by Prime Minister Modi in a speech yesterday. In addition to that, the country is going into a very important general election next year in 2024. And therefore, this budget is all the more crucial for various other reasons as well. There were several new announcements that were made, and some of the highlights are as follows. There's going to be no tax on income up to 7 lakhs. There are 50 new airports which have been proposed to be set up across various states. There is a 10,000 crore per year push for urban infrastructure development in the country. The government's flagship housing scheme, which is the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, has been enhanced to over 79,000 crores. There is also an agricultural accelerator fund which will be set up to encourage agricultural startups. In addition to this, there have been a plethora of other announcements, and I'm joined by an esteemed group of panelists who will give us their perspectives on today's budget. In no particular order, I'd like to welcome Arun Vasan, who is the Executive Director at Capco. Arun is an expert in finance and inclusion and transformation in the financial services sector. He's been in the financial industry for decades now, and we're very thrilled to have him today on Swell. Udit Misra is a Deputy Associate Editor at the Indian Express, and he is an expert on the economy and writes widely on news articles as well as wider perspectives around the budget and other economic policies. We're also joined by Radhika Pandey, who is an economist and senior fellow at the National Institute of Public Finance and Policy. Radhika is also an expert in macroeconomics, regulation, and financial policy. And, she's going to offer another unique perspective in terms of the policy aspect of the budget and the wider consequences of certain announcements. We also have Nazim, who is a financial journalist and has been a journalist for over 15 years and led editorial teams at Money Control, CNBC, TV 18, and Morningstar India. Nazim currently oversees strategy at Quantent and is a keen watcher and expert on financial markets and behavioral finance. I am so excited to kick this panel off and hear from all of our panelists. They're going to offer us a rich perspective, which we probably might not get elsewhere. And, it's truly an honor to welcome each of you to the Think Tank Swellcast. So the question we're looking to address today is quite simple and straightforward from each of our panelists. It's quite simply, what do each of you make of this particular budget from each of your expertise and standpoint and from the sectors that you closely track and follow? And what are the 3 highlights which stand out to you? And what do you think that the government could have done better? I'm truly excited to spark this panel. It's over to each of you, and we're really excited to hear from all of our esteemed colleagues and panelists here on Swell.
So the budget was overall positive, as evidenced in the market reaction, which closed in the green. I think there were a number of encouraging announcements. The FM managed to increase the capital outlay, which is in plain speak investments into assets such as infrastructure, road, railways, etc. From 7.5 lakh crore to 7 lakh crore. To 10 lakh crore. So I think that was a big announcement. The multiplier effect of such a large spending typically, it percolates down for years. So that was the big one. The important thing to keep in mind is that most budgets make a lot of promises, but on-ground execution is the key. For instance, every year, many crucial ministries actually fail to even spend the money that the FM has allocated to them. And then towards the end of the year, they return it back to the FM. This typically highlights the challenges associated with execution. So it was an encouraging sign to see the FM, announce today that from last year's target of 7.5 lakh crore in capex, they managed to spend everything. And next year, the government is targeting a 10 lakh crore spend, which is a good 33% increase. At a sectoral level, I think startups may have a reason to feel disappointed, coming as they do after a very tough year. They didn't get a lot of incentives as they were expecting. I think the chronic problem of low spending on research and development continues this year as well, if I remember right. I'll have to dive deeper into the numbers, to firm up that opinion. But I think in the initial assessment looks like we have sort of underspent on R&D, we have underspent on education, where we typically always underspend as a percentage of GDP compared to many other countries of a similar per capita income. Thankfully, I think there were no howlers. And I think the market must have felt relieved about that. Typically in the budget fine print, finance ministers tend to bury some bad news. So nothing that we've seen so far. And then I think the tax proposals may have felt like a bit of a mixed bag for many. But I thought what the FM has been doing in encouraging the new tax regime and providing rebates for income as high as 7 lakh is a complete game changer. Consider someone who earns as much as 7.5 lakh rupees a year, including the standard deduction. This person has to pay 0 taxes without making any investment. All they have to do is declare their income, and they become a legitimate tax assessee, right? So if you're a middle or high income earner sitting in a corporate office in Mumbai or Bangalore, you might feel hard done by. But if you're a small business owner earning 50K a month, for the first time you can actually become a citizen of this country who is part of the formal economy and who doesn't have to worry about hiding tax or paying tax. Think about it, and I think that's a very, very big move that the finance minister has brought about. So yeah, that was my overall take. Thank you.
The budget tries to balance the imperatives of macro stability and boosting growth. For macro stability, it has tried to reaffirm its commitment towards fiscal consolidation by sticking to the fiscal consolidation roadmap. The finance minister has announced a fiscal deficit target of 5.9% of GDP for the next financial year, and has reaffirmed the commitment of the government to attain a fiscal deficit target of 4.5% by 25-26. So that's one of the key highlights, that despite all the expenditure commitments, they have tried to stick to the fiscal consolidation roadmap. Though it will be difficult and challenging to see in the next 2 years how they will, what trajectory of fiscal consolidation they follow, because after 5.9 they still have to attain the target of 4.5% of GDP in the next 2 years. So the fiscal consolidation roadmap will become more steeper in the next financial year, that is FY 24-25 and then 25-26. So that's number one. The second is boost to consumption, and that's a very important takeaway from the budget. At a time when external demand is anemic due to the global headwinds, the government has tried to make the middle class happy by announcing rationalization of taxation, personal income tax, particularly in the new tax regime. So in the new tax regime, the rebate is enhanced from rupees 5 lakh to 7 lakh, and the tax slabs have been rationalized, reduced to 5. So this will help in boosting income. This will help in improving the disposable incomes of people and will help in spurring consumption to some extent. Optics wise also it's a very favorable development, because it signals the intent of the budget that they have done something for the middle class also, which till now was considered not a very focus area of the government. On the fiscal side, if we look at some of the numbers, on the tax side, they have tried to maintain the tax to GDP ratio at around 11%, but on the expenditure side, they have done a compression, mainly through reduction in subsidies, which is a welcome development. So the expenditure on food subsidies and expenditure on fertilizer subsidies have been reduced. So that's a welcome development, and if the economy does not face another unanticipated shock like it did in the current year, then the allocation would be sufficient for food and fertilizers. But the point of concern is that on the rural jobs guarantee scheme, the allocation has been steeply cut to 60,000 crore. So that is something that might need a step up in the coming months. If the demand for jobs remain elevated under Manrega, they would have to enhance the allocation towards the rural jobs guarantee scheme, which is the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Jobs Guarantee Scheme. The other key highlight is the capex. The capital spending has been enhanced from rupees 7.5 trillion to rupees 10 trillion, which is needed at a time when private investment still continues to remain muted, though there are some initial signs of revival. But so long as there is instability, there would be some level of reluctance on private spending. So towards that extent, capex has been enhanced. Though if we look closely to the fiscal numbers, we see that the revised estimates have been we have not been able to achieve 7.5 trillion rupees target, which was kept for this year. So while allocation is good, implementation is also equally important, and it needs to be seen whether the government is able to spend the 10 lakh crore that it has allocated in the union budget.
Thanks, Karan, for inviting me to the Swell platform. My name is Arun, and I've been part of the banking and financial services industry for 20 years now. So the Indian financial sector and the broader financial inclusion agenda are actually very key topics of interest for me. Our Honorable Finance Minister presented the 23-24 Union Budget today. In her speech, she called out 7 key priorities for the budget. One amongst them is the financial sector, right? So this is a key highlight. I mean, now financial sector, obviously the reforms, etc., there is a wide commitment from the finance minister and the government to take this forward. So here are my key takeaways from the financial sector reforms proposed in this year's budget. Starting with the continued support to the MSME sector. The micro, small and medium enterprise sector was highlighted as a critical sector even in the last year's budget. If you see, we have approximately 63 million MSMEs in India that account for close to 30% of the GDP. So cannot emphasize more the importance of this sector. This year, the budget has proposed revamping of the credit guarantee scheme for MSMEs. So with additional infusion of 9,000 crores, enabling additional collateral fee guaranteed credit, I think there will be great impetus for banks to lend to this sector in the absence of proper collateral, and this will in turn boost fund flow to these enterprises. Next, digital payments, right? Now, India is already establishing itself as a leader in digital payments. Our digital infrastructure is expected to be a defining feature in India's growth story. The Unified Payments Interface, or UPI as we all know, launched as an instant payment system in 2016, today accounts for more than 50% of all financial digital transactions. And recently, UPI expanded its footprint to cover cross-border transactions. So it was no surprise and a key highlight in this year's budget that the finance minister mentioned that the fiscal support for this digital public infrastructure will continue into 23-24. What are the other notable highlights from the financial sector? So it was announced that there will be a setting up of the National Financial Information Registry in India. So this will serve as a central repository of all financial and ancillary information. I think it's a new legislative framework, so this will govern credit public infrastructure. It will be designed in consultation with the RBI as per the finance minister. My take is that this move should help the functioning of fintech and data-led credit disbursement companies, and we can see some more stronger credit facilities given by banks. Financial sector regulations have always been key topic in every budget. This budget also emphasized on, financial sector regulations. The regulators were requested to comprehensively review regulations to simplify, ease, and reduce the cost of compliance. Couple of more aspects. One is the GIFT IFSC. So this was, again, it was in 2015 that the IFSC in Gujarat was set up. The IFSC allows financial institutions, fund managers to compete in the international market through a global competitive platform. This year also the FM has announced a host of initiatives to promote the IFSC. So initiatives like the single window system for registration and approval, permitting acquisition financing, avoiding dual regulation under SEZ. I think all this will provide a great push to expand the business activities within the IFSC. Some cheer for senior citizens, right? So the maximum deposit limit for senior citizen savings scheme has also been announced. This is good. So the deposit limit for monthly income account is also being announced. There is another notable measure in the budget is in terms of launching a new one-time small savings schemes, the Mahila Samman Savings Certificate. So this will be made available for a 2-year period up to March 2025. And it will offer a deposit facility in the name of women or girls for a tenure of 2 years. So if you look at, all these reforms, the key agenda of the government is obviously, promote the financial sector, promote financial inclusion, keep the momentum up. The budget has remained committed to these points. There were some expectations around privatization, rollout, privatization of banks, rollout plan for the central bank digital currency, etc., which were not covered in this year's budget. But we can certainly hope that this budget can provide the momentum for future growth of the economy. Thank you and good evening.